Each and every Nendoroid starts out as a stylized illustration, referenced throughout the creative process when making the Nendoroid. The illustration must have that signature Nendoroid look while still preserving the unique traits of the character they're based on.
Basically, the process is that the creative producer kind of has an idea of like, okay, this is the figure that we want to make. We want to give it these parts and we want it to be able to do these things. And you kind of put that all together. Sometimes we'll make the illustration before we submit the specs. Sometimes we submit it after. It depends on the character a lot of the time. Because, for example, for a lot of anime style art into Nendoroid style art, there's not too big of a difference. Whereas when you have more Western style art, that kind of requires more of a bridge between the two. And so then the illustration becomes really crucial. And so you need to get that done as early as possible so that, everyone can have like a clear vision of like, this is what we're going to make and this is what the figure needs to look like. The original art kind of had this nice balance between the kind of like Western art style and like Japanese art style. So while it's not fully like anime-like, there are elements of it that were very easily translatable into the Nendoroid format that you don't necessarily get with other like Western IPs.
Once the specifications are agreed upon and the illustration is complete, a team of sculptors at goodsmile company get to work on creating the Nendoroid prototype and its accessories. The team received plenty of official artwork to reference while making Nendoroid Zagreus, but creating the 3D sculpt still came with its own set of challenges.
After the general product specifications are kind of solidified, then you move on to the sculpt, where we work on, okay, looking at the character design, does this look like what the character would look like if it was in 3D versus like 2D?
基本的には 3DCG で、まずデータを作ります。で、それを 3D プリンターっていうこのでっかい機械があるんですけど、それで樹脂で出力してあげて、でそれを綺麗にヤスリで磨いてあげて、ようやくここになる。やっぱりアーティストのジェンジーさんの絵はすごく見て、何度も繰り返し見て、そのザグレウス的な形っていうのは一体何だろうっていうのはかなり調べて、それをギュッとちっちゃく可愛く落とし込むみたいなことで、やっぱり元のイラストっていうのはかなりリサーチしました。
When you're stylizing, you still have to factor in, okay, if the character has this kind of a haircut, is that translating properly? Or are we missing certain details? Like, you have to look at it not just from the front, but from like different angles and see, like, does it actually look like that character from all the angles, or is it just like the one angle? When I saw the initial sculpt, I thought it looked great. Like, there were certain details of it that, looking at it, I was like, we might need to adjust this part. When you looked at Zagreus from the side, where you can see his chest, the way that the sculpt was, his chest and then his stomach kind of like stuck out a little more, so he looked a little bit pudgy. There's no real other way to put it other than it looked like a little beer belly, and it was adorable, but it was just not right.
筋肉質な男性っていうのはネンドロイドだと結構珍しくて、こういうね、胸筋が立派な感じだったりってのは他のネンドロイドと比べるとかなり違うところかなと思います。
At every step of the process, the Nendoroid must go through a series of approvals, both within the company and with the IP holder. In Nendoroid Zagreus' case, goodsmile company worked directly with the creative team behind Hades at Supergiant Games throughout the creation of the Nendoroid.
When you work with smaller teams, you get to kind of interface directly with the people who have a lot of stronger opinions about the art looks like this for these reasons, and as a result, we need to keep these certain things as part of the figure, or, things like that. So it's a lot easier to interface directly with somebody and be like, hey, so because of these reasons, we want to do it or need to do it like this. Is that okay? And from there, you can kind of find the compromise versus like if you have someone in the middle, you know, it's a game of telephone, basically.
I think this is all of us on Supergiant side then.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, he's already here. Like, you can see him right there.
He's here! He looks so good.
And then we've got all of the detailing all around.
It's really amazing the level of detail you guys got. I was so worried. I was like, maybe they need to simplify a lot of stuff, but it just looks really good. The laurels and the hair especially, those must have been a challenge. Like even when I draw him, I'm like, I'm not really quite sure how this works. So it's so cool to see it in 3D and looking so good.
To make the laurels out of a flammable material so you could
That's right.
strike a match.
No.
And that may not work.
I'm only flame resistant, not flame proof.
Please don't set little Nendoroid Zagreus on fire.
Come with it. Probably has that warning on the box somewhere.
Oh, nice. Wow, so nice.
I feel like I'm on one of those Japanese variety shows.
I was just about. We need some like crazy captioning in like crazy colors.
Yeah.
Dong, dong, dong. And then like in the corner, I want to be like in the top left corner, like going.
Yeah.
Reaction. Oh, it looks really good. It looks really, really good.
I've got one of his shoulder pieces so that you can see the little Cerberus heads
That's so cool.
as well.
I had originally imagined this simplified so much more than this because I just wasn't sure it would come out right, but you did such a good job. And you even got like those like neck bones.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool detail to see.
So he's got his little nectar bottle.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, cool. Makes a little sloshing sound if you listen closely, no doubt. You should
If
hear it.
only, if I could get that in there, I would.
That's cool. You like engraved all the detailing as well.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I thought it would just be paint, but it's gonna be so nice with that extra.
Yeah, so it is, we do intend for it to be paint, but the way that a lot of production works is that if you don't have certain things molded in, it's hard for the factories to reproduce.
Mm.
So having the molds in there makes it easier for them to kind of discern where paint needs to go for what. So, I mean, it helps that it looks good like that,
Yeah.
but it also helps on a production level.
Right.
Awesome.
Paint within the lines situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much his sculpt.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It is so cool to see it in the flesh, digitally in the flesh. It just feels like it's getting so close.
Yeah,
Thank
for sure.
you.
We just seeing it, it's such a big step closer to being a real thing. It's definitely one of those things where we like, I don't know, we've dreamed of it for a long time,
Yes,
right? For
yes,
many projects ago.
We've
It's
talked
like,
about it before. We're like,
yeah.
oh my god, one day could we have a Nendoroid made based off
Yeah.
of one of our characters? And I like didn't want to dream. I was like, there's no way. We're just little old
Nah.
Supergiant, right? And now we're here. It is really a dream.
Once the sculpt is completed and approved by all parties, the team gets started on planning the paintwork for the Nendoroid. It's at this stage that balancing detail and the projected price becomes vital, as the addition of seemingly minor color details can add up to major manufacturing costs.
So typically we kind of look at the overall picture of the item. You know, you want to look at the big kind of swaths of color that kind of pop out first. And so from there, you kind of pick, okay, these are the colors that we should prioritize. And depending on how much of that color comes in, how intricate that detail is, you decide, do we plan on keeping this level of detail, or which parts of it do we think we can kind of let go, but still keep the general look and feel of that item. We really pride ourselves on the high paint quality of Nendoroids, and certain things in the manufacturing process, the details are too fine, too small, that like you could do it theoretically, but it would have to be done by hand, and then having to balance the cost of that with the final retail price and determining, is it worth raising the retail price to what would probably feel like an insane amount to fans in order to keep those details, versus it's not ideal, but we leave it out and the fans still get a high quality product, even if there's a little bit that's, there's a little bit left to desire, I guess. For example, you have the gold kind of on the outside of the shield, and then you have the red leaves at the bottom, and you could theoretically leave that part out. You could skip the gold trim, you could skip the red leaves, but if you did that, would you still look at the parts, look at the shield and think, oh, that's the shield of Aegis? If not, then that's a pretty important detail, so you should probably keep it in. And so it's kind of finding that balance.
After the painted prototype has been approved by the team at Supergiant, the Nendoroid goes through its final approvals with the Nendoroid brand director and goodsmile company CEO and president Takanori Aki himself.
普段はネンドロイドシリーズの、全体のチェックを担当しています。今回のザグレースのチェックでは、まずはそのキャラクターの設定にきちんと合っているかどうかということをチェックしています。あとは、ネンドロイドのディフォルメに落とし込んでいるので、ネンドロイドらしく仕上がっているかというところを主にチェックしております。ネンドロイドザグレースのおすすめポイントは、お顔が結構かっこいいところだと思ってます。目がオッドアイのキャラクターなので結構作るのが難しいんですけども、ネンドロイドのこのサイズになってもすごいかっこいい感じがしっかり出せたので、そこがおすすめポイントです。
Once the Nendoroid is completely approved, the painted prototype is photographed in preparation for the pre-order launch date. The Nendoroid is posed with each optional part with great care. Nendoroid prototypes aren't quite as posable as their final product, so this can take some time, but after months upon months of bringing the Nendoroid to this point, the team doesn't take any shortcuts in making it look as good as possible. Pre-orders for Nendoroid Zagreus launched on the 27th of January 2022. Order sheets are sent out to goodsmile company partner shops, and the Nendoroid is made available to pre-order for fans across the globe.
Nendoroid Zagreus is available for pre-order from now until the 10th of March, and we've also got the pop-up parade figure in the works, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Hades is a great game if you haven't played it yet, so be sure to, support Supergiant and play the game so that you can really fully enjoy the Nendoroid. And that's it from me.
Something's amiss.
Death approaches. Thought you could just get away from me, did you?